for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now. Got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K,
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro,
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
the sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Coupe Stanley pour les Canadiens. Le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup!
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Bittt.tb. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Matt Ohayon with you on the Sick Podcast. Welcome to the weekend, everyone, and welcome in to the Sick Podcast. We're brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, a leading asset-light 3PL that's driven to be different. From cross-border freight between Canada, USA, and Mexico to coast-to-coast shipping in both Canada and the United States, Energy moves it all. They're fast, reliable, and powered by tech that delivers smarter logistics. If you need a partner in transportation, contact the team at sick@shipenergy.com and see how Energy Transportation Group is changing the freight game. You haven't really played poker until you've played at Playground. Voted the Fan Choice Best Poker Room at the 2025 Global Poker Awards. Enjoy free drinks at every table, free food at all cash games, and daily tournaments, plus the biggest events in the game like the World Poker Tour and WSOP Circuit. And don't miss your shot at the world record Bad Beat Jackpot, now closing in on just over $1 million. Just minutes away from downtown Montreal, across the Mercier Bridge, this is Playground. We're also brought to you by Bittt Tibi beer. They have launched their new Ultra Lager, a refreshing, thirst-quenching beer, perfect for those cool fall days, with only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, and 4% alcohol per can. Available in packs of 6 and 12 in grocery stores and dépanneurs across the province of Quebec. Ultra light and ultra refreshing. And finally, go all the way with Betway and get a free bet up to $200 if your first bet loses. Scan the QR code on the screen or click the link in the details section to create an account and redeem your welcome offer. Offer is available only for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offer is not available in Ontario. You must be 18 years or older, and please play responsibly. Okay, we have actual hockey to talk about. That's fantastic. We are here. The hockey season is just around the corner, the regular season. Let's get into it because the Canadiens have played, I think, 3 preseason games this week, and they got 1 more tomorrow. So let's talk about it with Mr. Stu Cowan of the Montreal Gazette. Stu, how are we doing?
Doing well. We're into full swing. 3 preseason games in 4 days, and countdown to the regular season. These preseason games can't end quick enough.
Oh my God! Seriously, I don't. They are somewhat necessary, but at the same time, you see what happened last night with David Reinbacher. You see, Noah Dobson pick up a ding. You see Caden Gooley getting dinged up. That was before the game. Just it's tough. I really, I don't want to go into a whole rant of this, but I think this is a product of just too many games, but also athletes just pushing themselves way too hard beyond the capabilities of the human body. But hey. Hopefully, fingers crossed that the injury bug did not take a vacation off from Montreal for a year and made its way back.
Well, I also really feel for the season ticket holders who had to pay regular season prices for that game last night, watching a bunch of guys wearing Maple Leaf sweaters and nobody really knew who they were, kick the crap out of the Canadiens, right? Yep. And, David Reinbacher, broken bone on his hand now. This kid has just been jinxed. There's a year ago that he blew out his knee in a preseason game against the Leafs also. At the Bell Center, was sidelined for 5 months. You go back 2 seasons ago, he had a knee injury and a hand injury when he was playing in Switzerland. He's just been injury prone, and now 4 weeks. The good part is it's his hand, so at least he'll still be able to skate, which will make this comeback easier. But with Dobson and with Gooley, Gooley was at the morning skate yesterday. He was going to play, and then we showed up at the game, and he wasn't there, and it's his groin, and then Dobson hurt his groin. And those groin injuries are normal this time of the year because skating is not a natural human motion, right? Yep. And groins are a big problem. And like right now, they start training camp. They're going 100% right from day one. There's no warming up and getting into it. So you got to be in top shape coming in. And these guys all are. But the groins aren't stretched or used to the extent they are in summer skating as when you get into scrimmages and get into that. So I'm not shocked about the groin injuries. Marty St. Louis said after the game he's not really concerned. It's nothing serious. Mm-hmm. Mike Matheson told me there's certain things you just don't play through in a preseason game. Like as soon as you feel a little tweak, it's not worth risking it. I asked Matheson about having to play with 4 defensemen, though, for the last 7 minutes last night. And he said, hey, it's just more reps, getting ready for the season. So hopefully those groin injuries aren't serious for the Canadiens. But for David Reinbacher, not a huge impact on the Canadiens. He wasn't going to start the season in Montreal anyway. He was going to start in Laval. But just another blow to his development. And Pascal Vincent spoke about that after the prospect games when he was asked about Reinbacher. Didn't look great in those games. And he said, he's still growing into his body and he's missed a lot of development time and he needs lots of minutes in Laval. And now, at least a month out, so those minutes are already going to be cut back a bit. So, the question marks surrounding David Reinbacher and people questioning why the Canadiens took him with that number 5 overall pick are going to continue.
It's tough because injuries you can't really control that, right? That's not something that you can plan for when you're drafting a player unless there is something pre-existing, for example, like the Columbus Blue Jackets when they drafted Caden Lindstrom.
Yeah.
That was a pre-existing back injury. Yeah. The entire season over that. you could say, okay, that's a bit of a red flag. But now, since he's turned, or not since he's turned pro, but since he's been, as a part of the Canadiens organization, it's just been blow after blow. And you use the word that you use the term that I'm not typically a fan of, but it applies to him. Injury prone. I always say, when you are, if you get a shoulder injury and then you get a knee injury and then you get an ankle injury, and it's all different parts of the body, you can't really say, I chalk that up to bad luck. But when it's the same injury or the same part of the body multiple times, it's a pattern that starts to develop, and that's something to keep an eye on for the Canadiens. And they're not going to ask if David Reinbacher, he was a flop. If 5 years down the road we're projecting, let's say, and he never plays a game. He's a flop. He's a this. He's a that. It was because of an injury. Doesn't matter if it was because of injury or skill. He didn't play for the Canadiens, and that's a big blow, not only to him, but to the Canadiens themselves. Because if you whiff on a top 6 pick, top 5 pick, as we've seen the Canadiens in past regimes do, it's just a massive, massive blow to the team and what that pick could have been.
Yeah, and injury prone, I mean, yes and no. I mean, like Kirby Dach now, if he was to have yet another knee injury, that sort of injury probably is obviously something damage with that knee. But like you look at Caden Gooley, I mean, he missed the start of training camp last season because of appendicitis. He had an emergency surgery to take his appendix out. That's bad luck.
Yeah.
And he falls awkwardly and cuts himself with his own skate blade on the leg. Like, I've never seen that happen before. Bad luck.
Yeah.
Now he's out with a groin again. So I think more often than not, it's bad luck than being injury prone. The opposite end of that, Nick Suzuki has not missed a game since joining the NHL. A lot of that is that Nick Suzuki's in incredible shape. He's a very smart player. He doesn't put himself in dangerous positions, but he's also very lucky. I mean, he hasn't, Brendan Gallagher broke his ankle twice in one season, slap shots off the ankle. Remember Brendan Gallagher breaking his hands taking shots. Nick Suzuki's been, it's so impressive what he's done. I think he has the 3rd longest Ironman streak in the NHL right now, but there's definitely luck involved. It's in one shot to, I mean, you look at Slafkovsky the night when Dvorak's skate came up and cut him on the cheek. I mean, he's lucky that wasn't 3 inches lower. That could have been a real tragic ending. That's just unlucky, right? I mean, you see the awkward fall and Dvorak's skate coming up. But, the Canadiens have sort of been jinxing injuries over, last few years. Remember Patrick Laine last season also. So it is preseason, 3 more games to go in Toronto tomorrow night. And then they play, it's Monday or Tuesday in Quebec City against Ottawa. Then they have one last game. So at this point, the key is to get through them not getting hurt. But Marty St. Louis has also said right from the beginning of training camp, we got to be ready to go now, like right now, because last season they had that horrible start. They lost their last 4 preseason games. It carried over into the regular season. They were in last place after the first 15 games in the overall NHL standings. So there's that fine line between you don't want guys getting hurt, but you also don't want to start the regular season like they did last year, losing 4 straight preseason games, getting blown out last night by, as I said, a bunch of guys wearing Leaf sweaters. That's not a good sign, especially when the coach has made it clear that he wants guys to be ready right from the get-go at training camp.
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking about it with my friends last night before the game, and we're all we've all taken part in. But the ads of Bet365 have worked on us, and they were talking. They're like, oh my God, the Canadiens, they got their top 6 playing, they got their top 4D playing. They're going to steamroll this team. And I said, guys, this is reminding me of that time that George Larac made that video of him making 20 mise au jeux. And on the Canadiens against the Leafs, it was a Leafs AHL team. Canadiens played, I believe, their full lineup. And the Leafs won. And he posted a video of him ripping 20 printed out mise au jeux. It's really...
Well... Yeah, the other side of that, though, with the preseason is the guys who aren't. This is like for a lot of those guys in the Leafs. That was maybe the only chance you're ever going to get to wear a Leafs sweater, especially at the Bell Center. So they're a lot more pumped up for a preseason game than guys who know they're on the Canes who know they're going to make the NHL. They're just getting ready for the season. Their focus is on getting ready for the season. So that's why these preseason games, it's not so much of a shock, I don't think, when that happens, because the kids, the guys. The prospects and the career minor leaguers getting a chance to wear an NHL uniform, getting a chance to play at the Bell Center, they're going to be jacked up. And the Leafs players were last night, so good for them. They took it to the Habs.
Yep, and some of the goals were unlucky by the Canadiens, but hey, you let up 7, you deserve to lose. I mean, there's no other two ways about it.
Yeah, I mean, in that case, I think they had one shot on goal with midway through the first period. I mean, Marty said that today after practice. They didn't generate. I think they had one 5-on-5 shot on goal the whole game. Like they weren't there. It was. We'll see how they bounce back tomorrow night in Toronto. But they don't want to go into the season losing 4 in a row like they did last year.
Well, I don't think that. I mean, this team has faced adversity before, and it's preseason. Again, you don't want to put too much stock into preseason. What you could put stock into is who looks like they're kind of flying out there, which is nice to see. Because there's one guy that really stood out to me, and he's got a lot to prove this year. And it's good because the spotlight is kind of off of him. Who's Mike Matheson? I think Mike Matheson is poised for, I don't want to say the best season he's had since he's worn a Canadian sweater, because he put up, 60 points in his first year. But I think this is going to be a big year for Mike Matheson. I think he's got a lot to prove. He's not, he doesn't, you could say all you want, you don't pay attention to what's being said and all that stuff. You know what's going on. You hear it. You're going to hear it unintentionally sometimes. And he knows where he stood last year. He knows that he's a man. He knows he made mistakes, and it wasn't his greatest season. I think he's poised for a big one.
Yeah, he is a whipping boy with Canadiens fans. I mean, he did get caught. It was the first Toronto goal last night where he sort of got caught at the offensive blue line and the 2-on-1 going back the other way, and they scored. But Mike Matheson, 2 years ago, he came here. The Canadiens were desperate for offense. He provided a lot of offense. His best offensive season in the NHL. Last season, with the arrival of Lane Hutson, they had more offense, especially coming from the blue line. So they asked him to play a more defensive role, which he did. They took him off the number 1 power play, and they put him on the PK unit, and he became a fantastic penalty killer. He's a great team player. And I think playing with Dobson, it's going to be interesting because they're two big bodies. They're not overly physical when it comes to hitting guys, but they use their body well to their advantage. Dobson was asked about that recently. He had 57 hits last season, which I think ranked 125th out of NHL defensemen. A guy who was 6'4", 200 pounds. Not a lot, but he was saying big body works in different ways too. He covers a lot of ice. They can both skate. Long stick, long reach, able to block guys out, able to box guys out. So those are different types of things. So it's going to be interesting to see him and Matheson together, how they play. They cover a lot of ice. Marty St. Louis talked about it. They've talked about also how they want to kill plays in the neutral zone before the opposition can even get into the defensive zone. So they're going to be aggressive. They can afford to be aggressive because they're both really good skaters. But when you're aggressive like that, you're going to get caught sometimes. And Matheson got caught last night. He'll get caught again as the season starts. But it just seems every time he gets caught, a lot of fans focus on that and forget about all the other really good plays he made during the game, or all the goals he stopped on the penalty kill. They just sort of focus on that, on the errors that he makes. But there's a long tradition of that in Montreal. Going back to Patrice Brisebois and PK Subban and any defenseman who's an offensive-minded defenseman. Fans seem to only notice the mistakes and not notice the other positive things that they bring to the game.
Well, that was I remember last year. It was maybe, I don't know if it was the first game of the season, like the home opener, very early on in the season. I remember Lane Hutson had a pretty bad giveaway in, I think it may have been overtime. I forget who it is. This is very, abstract, but Habs fans will remember. And there wasn't a peep on Twitter about it,
Lane Hutson had more giveaways last season than Mike Matheson with less ice time. But people don't focus on Lane Hutson's giveaways as much as they do on Mike Matheson's.
Yeah, so I think he's poised for a big season. I always said if you get a defenseman to slot in front of him, bump him down the lineup, you're going to see him at his best, because you're asking a guy who never typically took on that role to play 25 minutes a night. That's a lot of minutes. That's a lot of minutes for anyone. If you cut that down to 21, 22, 20 minutes, you're really going to see him shine, because the more you're on the ice, the more mistakes you're going to make. That's just how it goes.
Well, exactly. You get tired, right? I mean, he had averaged 25.05 of ice time last season. Lane Hutson was second at 22.44. I think Matheson was seventh, I believe, among all NHL defensemen. ice time last year. So now Marty St. Louis is going to have more confidence in not his top two, not only his top two, his top three pairings. I mean, we saw that last season when Alex Carrier came in. So those minutes should go down, and that will help Matheson. As you say, when you're tired, mentally you make mistakes. You also don't have the legs to get back when you do make a mistake. So if they can cut his minutes down from 25 to like 22, I think that'll be a big difference for him.
Yeah. So
and he's such a proud guy, Mike Matheson.
Yes.
He's so he's proud to be a Canadian. He's proud. I mean, you were talking about fans. I've spoken to him about it before, and he says he's one of the only. I think him and Shea Weber are the only two guys who ever told me they don't look at social media that I believe them. Mm-hmm. And I believe they don't. But as Mike Matheson told me, he says, my parents see it, my brother sees it, my friends see it, his wife probably sees it. So he hears about it. He knows what's going on. But he's really able to sort of tune it out. And he's spoken to some of his younger teammates, sort of advising them, if you can't get totally off of social media, at least try and ignore it as much as you can. And he does a good job of doing that. He just focuses on his game and what his teammates think and what his coaches think. And he's able to turn off all the outside noise.
Another two guys last night that continue to quietly have, a decent camp. Listen, you're going to try to pick positives out of a 7-2 loss. We're looking at the big picture here. Two guys, Joshua Roy had a nice game last night, played physical, only one shot on goal, but 3 hits, played a physical brand last night. And Philip Meshar finding himself on the score sheet again. Both of those guys also something to prove, not to the level of Mike Matheson, but they got something to prove. Philip Meshar is a first-round pick. Yep. That kind of, with the hype around Slafkovsky and Hudson in the second round and Owen Beck in the second round, Philip Meshar kind of gets lost in the fold, but he's a first-round pick. And you don't just pick a guy in the first round just to pick him. So
no, and they didn't just pick him because he was Juraj Slafkovsky's friend either.
Exactly.
A first-round pick, and he has looked good right from the start of training camp. You notice him out there. He's been really quick offensively. He's been making good plays. He's been working hard both ends of the ice. Talking with Pascal Vincent at the rookie camp, and he said that Messar was great at the start of last season with Laval. He said he had a really great start, and then he had a high ankle sprain. And anybody who's ever had a high ankle sprain, I remember it happened to me once playing hockey, and the doctor told me, he says, well, the bad news is it's not broken. I went, what do you mean? He says, if it was broken, put it in a cast, and 4 weeks later he healed. A high ankle sprain, he says they take a long time to heal, and once they heal, it's very easy to do it again. So that's what Messar went through last season. He really it hampered him a lot. But Vincent said when he was healthy, he was really, really good to start the season, and now he's healthy again, and we're seeing that. Joshua Roy, another guy with something to prove. Number 1 overall pick in the Quebec junior draft, fell all the way to a 5th round pick in the NHL, and Canadians, I'm sure one of the reasons they drafted him, a local in Gud Chez Nous, right? Yep. But he's been his pace is quite. I mean, he played at the World Juniors and he was one of the top players there. And but his pace needed to improve, and he's worked hard at this camp, but he just seems to not have that edge to his game that I think he really needs to have to go to the next level. He can't get by just on skill in the NHL. He got by just in skill playing midget. He got by just on skill somewhat, or he tried to get by just on skill somewhat playing junior, and that resulted in him falling to a 5th round pick. He came into training camp last season. The job was the Canadiens basically gave him the job. Like, he came in, he was in the position Owen Beck's in right now. Training camp started, they put Owen Beck. There's one spot available on the team, and Owen Beck had it to start training camp. He's the guy leading the way. He's got the best chance to earn that spot. Last season was Joshua Roy in that spot, and he's the first to say he had a horrible training camp. Emil Heineman beat him out of the job. And this camp, he's looked better, but he still needs to have more intensity to his game. Just more, he gets pushed off the puck a little bit too easy. He has more, have to have more of a, for lack of a better term, more of an FU attitude when he's on. That's my puck and you're not taking it. And, he's one of those guys who can go down to the AHL and dominate there offensively, be very offensively productive. But as Marty St. Louis says, the NHL is a hard league, and you got to play hard. And he's playing harder, but he has to, I think, pick it up even more than where he is right now if he wants to earn a spot in the NHL, whether it's here or somewhere else, and if he wants to stay there.
Yeah, he's again, it's you bring up a good point, because now that I thought about it, it's just, he's just working harder than what we've seen in the past.
Mhm.
You're totally right. I think he can put it together. I'm not ready to write him off.
Mhm.
I thought I was, but then I watched him in the playoffs last year with Laval, and coming into camp, he was working, and throughout all the summer, you read all the articles that are coming out, and he seems like he's on the right path. But there are so many guys you gotta pick it up quick, because there are a lot of guys in this pipeline like Florian Xhekaj that everybody is drooling over now after his first game against the Flyers. So you especially as a forward, the Canadians are quietly getting more and more talented, and what this year, who's to say there's a permanent spot, because they're in a good position come deadline day. What's going to stop Kent Hughes from making a deal, picking up a rental, saying, okay, guys, we want to progress on last year. Let's go to the second round this year. He's going to pick someone up at the deadline.
Well, and we're talking about, as I mentioned, so that FU attitude on the ice. Florian Xhekaj has that, right?
Oh, yeah.
He has that in spades. And that's, at the end of last season, Hughes and Gorton both spoke about the most important thing moving forward, even more than size or anything. They want compete level. And Florian Xhekaj competes. I mean, Marty had a great quote the other night. I got it here in front of me. He says, you saw his shot. He's got a good shot. He disrupts a lot of stuff. He comes in with intentions of disrupting. He's on the forecheck. He's going to disrupt. There's no slowing down if he's F1 and stuff. You notice him when he's on the ice, and that's what you want as a young player, is you want to leave your mark whether you make the team or not. You got to leave your mark, and fighting a guy like Delorier, that will usually do that, right?
Yeah.
So here's Florian Xhekaj taking on arguably the toughest guy in the league, the most experienced fighter in the league. Here's a kid like 20 years old, and he lost the fight, but he hung in there with Nick Delorier and showed that he's willing to do basically anything to make this team. And that's, not every player is going to be like that, but Joshua needs a little, I'm not saying Joshua's going to fight, but he needs to have that disrupt. He has to disrupt things. He has to be noticed more when he's on the ice. And Florian Xhekaj has done a really good job of that. As I wrote earlier this week, I don't think he's ready to make the jump to the NHL just yet. He's the type of player the Canadians really need. He scored more than 20 goals last season as a fourth-line player in Laval. I think a year back in Laval playing top 6 minutes will really help his development. But he's a guy, like, right now he's ahead of Joshua Waugh on the depth chart on the chance of making this team, because you notice him every time he's on the ice. And for a young player looking to make a team, you got to be – and we've noticed Philip Machara a lot during this camp. He's going back right to rookie camp. I've noticed him on the ice all the time. Like he's a skilled, talented player, not that big, but there's reasons why he was a first round pick, and this will be a big year for him, and hopefully he can stay healthy. Well,
and when it comes to Machar, it's reminding me a lot of how he comes into camp. A lot of people have written him off, frankly.
No, yeah, he's a forgotten man.
Yeah. So, he comes into camp just like, I'm not saying he's the same type of player, but it's the same, story around it of, Emil Heineman comes into camp last year. No one really thinks anything of him. He's just a throw in a trade. And then, first game in the preseason, it's like, wow, this guy wants it. He wants to be here. And that's the sense you get from Philip Machar this year. He wants to be in Montreal.
You noticed Emil Heineman every time he's on the ice. Michael Pezzetta, last time with the Leafs. You noticed him every time he was on the ice. He had 7 minutes of ice time, led his team with 6 hits. He knows his role. He's a fourth-line player. He's not the most talented player in the world, but you know what you're going to get from him. You notice him every time he's on the ice. That's why I think Michael Pezzetta I think Toronto fans are going to love him. I think he's exactly what that Leafs team needs, is some grit and a good teammate in the locker room, which Michael Pezzetta is. But you got to do something to be noticed. And that's how Michael Pezzetta made it to the NHL, when there's a lot of other guys that have a lot more talent than him.
Yeah. It just goes back to, you got to be made of the right stuff. To play in this league. You can carve out a career for yourself. Like, no disrespect to Nathan Beaulieu, but that's a guy who got by on skill. Because I remember when he was drafted, this guy had all the speed in the world, skate like the wind, but couldn't shoot the puck, and didn't particularly we saw his closing speed a lot in his highlights when he was drafted, and then you just didn't see him work that hard in the Canadiens, in the Canadiens defensive zone, and he carved out a nice career for himself, and good for him. But he wasn't what he didn't live up to that first round billing.
No, and his hockey IQ wasn't great. And the thing at the NHL level, you got to be able to think fast and move the puck fast. You got to do everything fast. There's no time and space. You notice it if you watch a game down low. There's no, or if you go to a practice in Brossard, there's no time and space. You got to be thinking quick and almost know what you're gonna do with the puck before you get it. And that was another place where Nathan Beaulieu struggled, and where a lot of players struggle when they get to the NHL. You don't, and that we talk about Joshua Roy, or guys, you see it all the time. Guys go down in the AHL and they dominate, right? They win a scoring championship, they light it up, and then they get to the NHL and you go, well, why can't he do it in the NHL? Because he doesn't have that extra split second with the puck. Everything just comes at you quicker, comes at you faster. It's like, a guy who can hit 325 home runs in AAA, and then he gets to the majors where the fastball is a little bit faster, the curveball curves a little bit more, and they can't do it. So the NHL is like Marty St. repeats it all the time. It's a hard league. It's hard to make it there, and it's even harder to stay there. And you gotta have skill. Obviously, you gotta have compete level. You gotta be able to think quick. You have to have hockey IQ. There's so many things you have to have to be, and that's what makes it even more remarkable when you look at a guy like Sidney Crosby or Nathan McKinnon or the best players, the Connor McDavid, is that they're able to dominate at that level and be that good when everybody else is that good. And it's amazing to think in a guy like Sidney Crosby who's still doing it today after so many years in the league. They have they have everything it takes to be a good hockey player, and it's not just skill.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that you see a lot of guys that are just cerebral players, and everything they do is with intention. And that can't be everyone's game, frankly, because those guys are different. That's just what it is. Sidney Crosby is a different animal. Connor McDavid, different animal. And, like we always say on this show, not all first overall picks are created equal.
Yeah.
Crosby and McDavid were created a little equal.
They think the game quick. They in McDavid's case, he skates so fast too. I remember talking with an NHL scout a few years ago when they changed the rules where you couldn't block the forechecker. The second defenseman couldn't get in his way while you were trying the F1. And I was saying to the scout, boy, for guys who can't skate that fast on defense, that's going to be trouble. And he said, not necessarily. He says, for guys who can't think fast, it's going to be trouble. And he made the two of the players he compared was like a Sheldon Surrey type guy, can move his feet really quick, not the highest hockey IQ, not the trans, getting everything. There's a lot of guys like that in the NHL. But then he compared it to like a Chris Pronger. Chris Pronger was no speedster, but he was so smart and thought the game so quickly. And he said it's not going to bother him as much as it's going to bother the guys that can't think fast enough to keep up with the style of play. So there's so many factors that go into it. And that's when you're seeing kids, Philip Massar, a first-round pick, now you get to a higher level, and you're trying to predict what an 18-year-old is going to be like when he's 22, 23 years old also. So that's why when you look at the NHL draft, there's so many first-round picks that don't work out. There's tons of them. You just go through year by year and go through the first round, and you're who's that guy? Canadians had a lot of those.
Oh, did they ever? I was talking to Nicolas Cloutier last week, and I said to him, I go, Canadiens fans and hockey fans in general, more than really any sport, I find really infatuated with prospects. It's really fascinating in hockey. I don't know what it is about the sport, but I've been through an era. I grew up in an era of the Canadiens where just if you're not a top 5 overall pick, I really, for better or worse, I can't bring myself to believe that you will be just right out of the draft. I could say that, wow, what a great player. He's going to be a great player. I just can't bring myself to do it because I've just seen too many whiffs, So when these guys, they got to come in and prove it. And when they do, I will say I was wrong. I'm not ashamed. You know, everyone's almost a lot of NHL teams are wrong on these players on what they thought would be great, and they ended up not turning out great. It's better to be the other way around, thinking they weren't going to be great, and then they end up being great.
Well, the Habs are taking Brady Tkachuk instead of Jesperi Kotkaniemi, and I know one of the reasons the Canadiens didn't take Brady Tkachuk is they were worried about his skating, but it's compete level.
Yeah.
So you might not get there the quickest, but when he gets there, he's going to run you through the boards and take the puck off you most of the time. So
yeah, he'll make sure he knows you got there. You got there first.
Yeah, so imagine Brady Tkachuk on this Canadiens lineup right now. That'd be
Yeah. Oh, wow, scary lineup.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the need for more sandpaper in this team. That's something Martin St. Louis also talked about, and management talked about at the end of last year, famously. Who, in your mind, is other? Of course, we've talked about ad nauseum over the summer that it's Juraj Slafkovsky. He's got to be the guy to play. Right? We saw it in the rebuild series. He said it. He said it himself. So they didn't say that in that press conference. Obviously, pointing at him saying, hey, this is us sending a message to you. They briefed him before. Who else needs to bring some extra edge to their game for the Canadiens to, not just be a harder team to play against?
Well, Juraj's the top of the list without a doubt. And last night I saw it. I saw him being much more physical. I saw him. One thing that would drive me crazy watching him is the one hand on the stick all the time, like it was a magic wand. Last night, 2 hands on the stick, fighting for pucks. He knows what he has to do, right? He just needs to come out now and do it. Josh Anderson showed last season what a physical presence he can be. Jaden Struble, a guy, Arbor Xhekaj, a guy. They have guys who can do it. Arbor's more than willing to do it, like almost too much. That's the problem with him, is they're trying to hold him back. And Marty St. Louis says, I'd rather have a guy I have to hold back when it comes to that compete level and drive than a guy I got to try and push to do it. So with Arbor, Marty keeps trying to tell him he's not to run after the hits. Let the hits come to you. And Arbor was interviewed recently. I can't remember who was speaking, saying that everybody thinks that Marty St. Louis doesn't like him. And he says, Marty treats me like I'm his son. And I know Arbor's dad was hard on him when he was a kid. And as a result, Arbor was hard on his little brother, Florian, because he thought Florian got off easy. So Marty St. Louis knows his players. He knows the guys who need a pat in the back and the guys who need a kick in the butt. And I think one of the reasons he coaches Arbor hard is because he knows Arbor can take it. And he knows Arbor can be better. And I think he sees the potential in Arbor Xhekaj and realizes the player that he might be able to become, an undrafted player, just like Marty St. Louis, right? I think so. With Arbor, they have the guys. I think they have enough guys to do it. But I think the main guy when it comes to it is Juraj Slafkovsky. He's on the number one line. He gets a lot of minutes. He's playing with the 2 best players on the team, arguably in Suzuki and Caulfield. He's got to have a physical presence. He's got to, and I've seen it more so in this training camp than in his previous training camps. And this is a big year for Slafkovsky. His new contract kicks in.
Yeah, that was
a lot of things have sort of been handed to him since he came here as a number 1 pick. Spot on the power play, spot on the number 1 line. Even when he was struggling, they took him off a couple of times, but he basically had that job. Now you got Ivan Demidov breathing down his neck. You got a big contract weighing on you. He's older, he's 4th year in the league. He's still young, but 4th year in the league. We've heard all the talk about I need to play like the Tkachuks. I need to play like the Tkachuks. So do it and do it consistently. And he realizes that. And I think the coaching on him will get even harder now for Marty St. Louis moving forward. And with a lot of these young guys as they get older, and it's going to be interesting if he can do it. But like last night I was watching him and he was really using his size to his advantage a lot, and harder on his stick, the 2 hands on the stick, and winning puck battles and fighting for puck battles. So I think he's the key guy when it comes to that.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him this season, and I'm excited to – the expectation should be that he's playing a full 82 games at full throttle. I mean, yeah, you're going to have bad games.
Well, everybody's going to have a bad game, but he's got to be physical every game. Like he can't go through games where he has 1 hit.
Yeah.
Or 2 hits. You got to be able if you're not putting points on the board, and every player goes through parts of the season where you're not putting up points, you got to be doing something. You got to bring that physical presence, especially when you're as big as he is. And you're such a key player. And he's making big money now, right? One of the reasons they're paying him big money is because they want him to be physical. They want him to be that power forward. We've paid you. We believe in you. Show us that we made the right move. And Ken Hughes had a little bit of that conversation with Uri last season. Like, we expect more out of you. And this is a big season for him, and a lot's expected of him. And I really hope he comes through, because he's such a good kid to be around. His teammates like him. He's got all the talent in the world, and hopefully this season we see more Brady Tkachuk out of Juraj Slafkovsky. And maybe years from now, some young player will be saying, "I need to play like Juraj Slafkovsky." That would be a great thing for the Canadiens.
Well, it goes back to, just as no two first overall picks are created equal, no one's development chart is also created equal.
And as Ken Hughes, it's not linear, right? There's ups
unless your name is Nick Suzuki, that's linear then.
Yeah.
I mean, the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
But when it comes to Slafkovsky, I think see a season for him. And I've said that now about a few players, but I don't know, there's something about him this year that it feels like he's aware of the expectations that are attached to the contract that the Canadiens gave him.
Yeah.
He's very well aware of that. He knows. He said it last year. You use the line. You added a year. He said it last year. Yeah, I'm young, but it's my third year in the league. I know most of the league at this point. Well, now it's your fourth. You have playoff experience under your belt. Yeah. You really know the league now.
Yeah, and he's only 21, but he's a man. He's been a man since he was 18 years old. Yeah. He's a big man. He's just got to use that more. And a lot of these big guys, I think, when they were big in junior coming up, they never really had to use the size, because it was sort of not like guys just bounce off them.
Yeah,
or guys were afraid to hit them. Guys weren't going to hit them. Well, in the NHL, nobody's afraid to hit you. And for Slafkovsky, he's got to make guys a little bit afraid of hitting him, or a lot afraid when you're a defenseman going back in your corner to pick up the puck and you hear him coming behind you. Like when Josh Anderson's coming after you and you're a defenseman going into your own corner, you're like, he's coming. He's coming, and he's going to hit you. Michael Pezzetta, when he's coming at you, he's coming at you, he's got to hit you. And now Juraj Slafkovsky has to be that. He has to, when he's coming after these defensemen, they have to know he's going to hit them, and he has to follow through with the hit. And it wears on defensemen as it goes on, and especially in a playoff series. You look at Washington last year, they targeted Lane Hudson, right? They ran him every single chance they got. You're playing 7 games against a team, you have a smaller defenseman on the other side, run him through the boards every chance you get. And that's every team in the NHL has a similar type of strategy. Canadiens, if they get back to the playoffs again this year, that's something they're going to have to focus on, because one of the reasons the Capitals won that series in 5 games, they're just physically more dominating than the Canadiens were.
Well, that's it. You could say Canadiens fans could say, and the Montreal Canadiens themselves, they said it in their in the series there. That could have gone either way. We were in every game. Well, eventually the difference was the size. Everyone knew it.
They were in every game, but they still lost in 5 games, right?
Exactly. You were in every game.
Washington had that little, more physicality and what it takes to win in the playoffs. And they're a veteran team. Capitals have won the Stanley Cup before with a lot of the guys that are still with them. They're a veteran team. They've been through the playoff wars. They know what it takes to win in the playoffs. And for a lot of the Canadiens last season, they got their first taste of what it takes to win in the playoffs. They also got their first taste of what it takes just to get in the playoffs. I mean, they were playing playoff hockey for the last 2 months of the season just to get in. So all of that should bode well for this season, that they now know what it takes to get to the playoffs. And even more importantly, they know what it takes to get through the playoffs. As Mark Bergeron is saying, some players get you to the playoffs, some players get you through the playoffs. So we'll find out this season if the Canadiens have enough guys to get them to the playoffs again. And once they get there, at least get through one round.
We haven't spoken about him at all, but Patrick Laine, he's gonna have a good season. I mean, statistically, people are gonna get frustrated with him at points, as that's just the style of play. But you could go through a list of the Canadiens and you could say this guy could score 30 goals, this guy could score 30 goals, this guy could score 40, and all the rest. He's one that I believe he will hit the minimum 35 mark. And it's like you said, how Pat Hickey used to say, well, if you play 82 games and you score 30 goals, that's at least 52 games where you didn't score a goal. So there will be games where he doesn't score and people get frustrated with his performance, but he's been another one that's just locked in all summer and locked in training camp. He looked at the connection last night. Yes, it's on a power play against a bunch of minor league Leafs, but hey, those minor league Leafs blew the Canadiens out of the water. But he's going to have a really good season, and they're going to need him because we said it, as frustrating as it was to watch him, and he kind of turned into a little bit of a whipping boy near the end of the season. The Canadiens don't make the playoffs without Patrick Laine, and they will not make it to the playoffs without Patrick Laine this year.
Ken, you said that at the end of the season too, and Patrick Laine is going to score on the power play. I mean, we saw that last season. He's trained all summer. He's in good shape. He seems to be in a good mindset. My concern watching him last night, he still looks slow. Like, it's a preseason game, so he might still not be going at 100% going out there, especially after what happened to him last year with the knee injury. But with that line with him and Doc and Demidov, it could be great. They could put up a lot of points, and it could also be a defensive disaster. I mean, they were -3 last night against a bunch of guys wearing Maple Leaf sweaters. Plus minus isn't the be-all end-all, but Kirby Dach was the worst plus minus on the team last year. And Marty spoke about it after the game when he was asked about that line, and he said he's not just looking at the offense. He said you can't have one guy on the line committed defensively. You can't have one guy committed and two guys not. You can't have two guys committed and one guy not. You got to have all three guys committed to play a strong defensive game. And that's my biggest concern about that line going into this season. It could be, like I said, offensively, it could be really good if Kirby Dach can bounce back and find his legs. I mean, 3 former first-round picks. There's guys with a lot of offensive ability. But defensively, I wonder if that line could be a problem. And I think in the back of his head is thinking the same thing.
Well, the flip side to that, the optimistic flip side to that would be that the best defense is a good offense. The more you have the puck, the less you got to play defense. And we saw 2 years ago and 3 years ago when Kirby Dach stepped into the Canadiens and when he really hit his stride, that was a guy who had this natural ability to just protect the puck at all costs, control the pace of play, do smart things with the puck, and just you couldn't knock him off. And it was noticeable. And to notice that in a regular season game, we all noticed that in the Canadiens Cup run with Yoel Armia. We noticed it a little bit last year with Yoel Armia. And to notice that on a consistent basis in the regular season, if he can find that, and then you have Demidov, who he might be easy to knock off a puck right now, but good luck catching him to get into a position to knock him off the puck. So that's the optimistic flip side. I do, though, the realistic part of my brain is saying that line might be short-lived, and Martin St. Louis will have to find a solution to that, issue.
Marty said defense end, as we were talking earlier, with Matheson and Dobson being more aggressive defensively in the neutral zone, not even letting the other team get into the offensive zone. But as Marty said, in order for your defenseman to do that and feel comfortable doing that, they got to know the forwards are coming back.
Yeah.
Mike Matheson needs to know when I pinch like he did last night in the thing, there's got to be a forward covering for you. Because if not, it's a 2-on-1 going the other way. So when you're asking your defenseman to play that aggressive style in the neutral zone, as you said, the best defense is a good offense. Don't let the other team have the puck. But if you got defensemen trying to break up plays in the neutral zone and your forwards aren't coming back to help them out, that's disaster. And so that's going to be something to watch this season with whether – and Marty's not going to have as long a leash this year with Doc or with Laine either, because they can't get off – the 2 years in a row, they're not going to be in last place after 15 games and come back and get in the playoffs. It's just too hard to make the playoffs in the NHL. They got to get off to a good start. So with Marty, it's going to be like these guys have got to be ready to go opening night, and they got to all three realize that all three have to be committed to defense every game. And if they are, and the points will come if they play that system and they don't let teams get in the offensive zone as much as they have in the past, and they play more in the other team's end. Those three guys can put up points, but you got to be committed coming back so that you do get the puck back in the offensive zone.
Well, the one guy I'm really excited to see that develop over the season is going to be Ivan Demidov, because of the way that Martin St. Louis transformed Cole Caulfield.
Yeah,
I think
Yeah.
Demidov has all the smarts and all the tools and all the skills to, you didn't have to worry about Cole Caulfield on offense. You really don't have to worry about Ivan Demidov on offense. I think he has all the tools to be a complete 200-foot player, and that's when you're really going to see him shine. I don't know when it's all going to click for him, but I'd be willing to bet it's going to click at some point this season, and you're just going to see an unbelievable, how old is he now, going to be 20 or 21-year-old rookie in the NHL. He is going to be just an unbelievable player if Martin St. Louis can tap into that and, transform his game just a little bit on the defensive side.
Yeah, and that's the key, right? 200-foot player. And as you mentioned, Cole Caulfield, the perfect example. He's, Marty St. Louis saying, when he came in, he says, I'm not going to teach Cole Caulfield how to score goals, but I'm going to teach him maybe how to get in better positions to score goals, how to score goals from different positions. We've seen that. Cole Caulfield scores more goals now from in close, and how to be a 200-foot hockey player. And the thing that with Demidov, too, like Lane Hudson, this guy eats, lives, sleeps, breathes hockey, right? He looks he's going to be very coachable. His English has really improved by staying here this summer, at least his comprehension. He's still a little understandably like speaking. He speaks in very short sentences, but he understands everything you ask him. You can tell like he understands what you're saying to him. And that's the key when Marty St. Louis is going to be teaching him. I think he's a kid who's going to be willing to learn. As you said, the offensive ability, those passes he makes, those no-look passes are just crazy. On the power play, he's going to be a weapon. Like he's going to really be a weapon. They got enough weapons to have 2 really good power play units this year. But again, that second line, it's not just about putting up points. You got to play defense also.
So we'll see. Listen, by this time next week, the Canadiens will be gearing up for their last preseason game that's coming up on next Saturday. But for the time being, they're gearing up for tomorrow night in Toronto against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Stu, thank you very much for joining me. We got hockey back. We did it. We officially did it. We did it, Stu.
It's back. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the game tomorrow night.
You too, Stu.
Hopefully it's better than last night.
Yes, hopefully it's way better. And I you know what? I'd be hard-pressed to think it won't be. There you go. So, Stu, enjoy the hockey.
Okay, you too.
That was Stu Cowan. I'm Matt Ohayon. For Shane Gaumont, back at Master Control. We'll catch you next time.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. LaVita.tb, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.